Hi, I'm Liz Holpin from Pinhole Quilting. In this video, I'm going to show you how we can set up the Flexi Rack, which is the blue track that the Pro Stitcher Lite for either the Moxie or the Simply 16 runs on. Now this procedure is the same as we've been doing for a while on the studio and the gallery frames, and I've got some tips in here that I hope will make it a little bit easier for you. What I've got in front of me is the carriage. This is actually for a Simply 16, but it looks very similar for the Moxie carriage. And you get a tray which fits into the carriage. I've got it upside down at the moment. Underneath, you'll find that there are some gears. This one is the one, what the Flexi Rack that we put on our table is going to run along. And then we've got a track that runs underneath the machine, and we attach that to the base of the machine, and that track runs front to back. That's called the Y-axis. This is the X. Now what we want to do first of all is just check what components we need before we start. And I've got my Flexi Rack. This comes with a Pro Stitcher Lite, okay? And then we've got our fitting kit, which comprises 4 screws, 4 retainers for the track at the ends, that's 2 at each end, and also a drill bit that I've attached to my drill. I'll need a Phillips head screwdriver for screwing in the screws, and to clip the ends of the track, which is going to be too long because I'm putting this on an 8-foot frame and it's a 10-foot. This is a pair of clippers, so I just can use these and that will trim it nicely. What I've also got is this thing here, which is a guide for where I'm going to, it's like a template that I've made, that I'm going to use as the template for where I'm going to put my screw holes at either end. And I've got some settings that I'll show you and I'll share on the link below. Okay, so what we do first of all, the other thing I've got, which is quite important, I've got something weighty that's easy to move as I go along the track. This has a habit of curling up, and I just find that this is very handy because I've normally got it with me. It's my toolkit. And once I've got that partly unfurled, it actually furls up again. So I keep that in place with this, and I'm going to show you how we do that. The other thing that you need to do is get the Flexi Rack, the cogs engaged for the X-axis. So there is what's called a stepper motor, and there are 2 of these on the carriage, and you just release those so that that comes up. It tells you how to do that in the manual. Right, I'm just going to pause the video now. I've got a Moxie down here. I thought I'd just show you what this is about. So this Moxie and the carriage, I just need to take those off. Anyway, I'll see you back here in a second. Okay, welcome back to the video. So first of all, what I'm going to do is just take this carriage and put it onto the tracks, like so. Make sure that your top isn't caught in it. There we go. You can hear it dragging, the cogs are dragging. Now what I need to do is drill my first 2 holes. So I've got this template that I mentioned earlier. I've also got a template that's going to be the guide as I progress down here. This is 15 millimeters deep. And I've just checked it against the actual carriage, and that works perfectly. So I'm going to put my template against the edge. I've come in 2 inches from the edge, which is what we've used previously, and it clears any metal at the end. And it's 15 millimeters in. The holes are 14 millimeters apart. Helps if you've tightened your drill bit up. Okay, so I've drilled my 2 holes at the end. Get rid of the bits. I was just clearing those other holes out because I could see that they weren't quite right. So for the other end, I'm going to put my 2 holes in there as well. So I've got it lined up. And there we go. So I've got a couple of holes each end that are the right distance for putting the screws in. Now, here's my screws. I'm going to put 2 at each end. I'll have 2 at the other end for when I go down that end. And I'll put my screwdriver in my back pocket. Make sure I don't turn off my microphone. Got too many things in my back pockets. Got my phone. Right. So I'm going to use this template that's the right distance apart. I'll put this down here as well because I'm going to need it. Clips at the far end. I've got my toolkit just to hold the track down. And I'm going to just undo these clips from here, these cable retainers that hold the Flexi Rack together. There we go. It's got sticky tape on the underside, but you do need these retainers at either end to hold it in place. So I'm now going to use my screwdriver, put it through these retainers, and I'll put the first one in place, and then I can put the second one in place when the track's down. So use your Phillips screwdriver just to part way start that, and the same for the other one. And then I'll start peeling off the sticky. Now make sure you don't peel off both sides. I have done that before and then realised it wasn't sticking down. We've done a lot of these for the studio frames. Okay, now once I've got my retainers placed, just go beyond it by sort of an inch or so, just so it's nicely held within the retainer. So it's nicely held in place rather. And I'm just going to tighten that up. So that those end bits of the frame kit are holding the track in place. There we go. Now I take this underneath the carriage, straighten it out as best I can at this stage, and put my toolkit on it. Okay, lift this up. Then I put my template in place and fix the first section down with the carriage on top of it to make sure, if I look from the other side, I can make sure that this is the right distance. So I put this on top of here. And I'll check, yep, that looks really good. So I've got my template, I just now move it along the length of the frame, and as I go, I take off the sticky of the Flexi Rack track. You need, it says in the manual, I think, how much you actually need the track to be in place. And you see that's holding it down nicely. And just come along here. Okay, and we just now move all the way along. Just moving it along. And just putting that Flexi Rack down. This is so much quicker. I know that people have tried to do it manually just by eye, and we've never found that to be particularly successful. Next section. And so we go on, just like this. Just move it to the other camera view so that you can see it perhaps a little bit better. As I come into this section here at the end, you should be able to see just the track going down now. So I'm moving up this here, putting it between the metal edge of the track and where my Flexi Rack is going to give me a 15mm clearance. as I approach the end, I can then judge how much of the Flexi Rack to take off. If you've got a little foot frame that you're putting on, the measurements are slightly different, so we'll share those with you separately. But the same procedure would apply. You can make your own template if you wish, if you're not in the UK, because we actually provide now these templates for customers. Right, I'm just going to trim this off, make sure it's plenty long enough. And that should be good there. Okay. So I can get rid of that. There's just a couple of feet left over. Right, get my screwdriver that I've brought down this end. Don't forget to bring it with you. Put my screws in. So this is, I've put the track underneath the two retainers, and I'm just going to make sure that they're square to the track, 90 degrees to the track, and I'm going to tighten those down like so, so that I've got a nice finish and it's going to hold it in place. There we go. Right, that is Pro Stitcher Flexi Rack installation, and I hope that was useful for you. We've covered therefore the Moxie and the Simply 16 with Pro Stitcher Lite, installation of the X track on the Loft Frame, and there's some tips in there about using some templates, and I'll put underneath some information about the size of the templates that you can create yourself. So for future customers in the UK, we're providing these for our customers to make it easier for them. But if you're elsewhere, then obviously you can make your own. The other thing is, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll have lots of more information and tips and techniques on long arm quilting, particularly in respect to Handi Quilter machines. Anyway, I hope that was useful, and happy quilting.